But next up, we are going to welcome our next speakers, another 2-for-1 deal. Very exciting. So please give a huge warm welcome to Meenu and Tanisha. Woo! And while they are setting up, everyone please give a huge another round of applause to Meenu and Tanisha. Take it away.
Thank you, Anjana. Okay, so take a look at these amazing looking websites and apps. Have you ever wondered what's stopping you to achieve this level of seamless perfection? What if that is miscommunication? Hi, I am Meenu. I am a developer at GeekyAnts, specializing in React and React Native. And this is my friend Tanisha, who has now started to get dev jokes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tanisha, and I am a designer at GeekyAnts. Designer, right? OK, yes. So apart from getting the dev jokes, I have also started understanding the developer mindset while also working with my team. And that's exactly why we are here today. At GeekyAnts, we are not just about coding. We are also masters of memers, hackathons, epic trips, birthday celebration, and we also have our share of foosballs, tennis, and pool games. But if you look closely, like very closely, you'll find that secret ingredient that binds us all together, which is our passion for researching, collaborating, and building amazing things together. Meenu and I work on the same team, and which is mostly in the React Native ecosystem. And even though we sit like next to each other, like just like this, we've realized that there are a lot of gap in communication that has possessed a lot of hurdles when we work in the same project. And that's exactly what we are here to talk about today. It's like when a designer says that, this is just the last change, and the developer starts becoming pale.
So this is just not coming from us. We have encountered these tweets which emphasize the collaboration between design and development. Some even say that designers should learn to code, and developers should also learn like tokens and all the design terminologies. So that's why we chose this topic, bridging design and functionality. So this is the agenda of our talk. First, we'll delve into the issues that we face. Then, introduction to the solution, which is maybe one of the solution could be tokenized system. And then we'll share our experiences around how we built universal component library. And then we'll talk about the contributions of the community related to this, like new standards like Figma, etc., are doing things.
Now, before we dive into the different issues that we face, first up, we want to acknowledge the fact that the designer and developer mindset are very different. And mostly, it's not like a designer versus developer situation. It's more like an and situation. And this is how a designer mind works whenever we hear any brief or any project. Like, we think about user interface and what can be added to this. What does the branding look like? What would be the UX flows? How will we maintain consistencies? And this is the primary thought process of a designer. Meenu, what do you think goes in the developer mind?
I think developer mostly focuses on the performance, like functionality, and all those API designs, and all the technical things, not at all about design. Like, I don't think developers mainly focus on design.
Right, and that's why, given these different mindsets, certain inevitable issues arise that we want to address. For example, let's take this animation. Now, as a designer, when I look at these websites, I feel, OK, wow, these are amazing. Can we add something more? Can we check the layout? How did the designer even brainstorm about these ideas? The color palettes look amazing. Can we have any global token that can change everything? Did we add audio? Is there any way we can add some audios and maybe improve the UI or maybe accessibility? Do you think if we change the layout of it, it'll look different? How can we add one more last change to this?
Designers. Nice monologue, though. So when I see the development side of it, my most favorite concern is how will this perform? Because we actually researched on 20 such websites, and the results were not that amazing that it should be. So these are the average results that you can see on the screen. So, yeah.
Okay. Next up, let's talk shadows. Now, when I am designing shadows as a designer, my first mindset is about disclosing the purpose or the functionality of the shadows. And the second would be like deciding the light source. Where is the light source coming from? What is the intensity of it? Which will, at the end, result if it is a hard shadow or maybe a softer shadow. The third would be like, what would be the shadow properties? Like we have properties like blur, the spread, and what is the shadow color that we are using. But how does this translate into development?
I think development side of this is very different because there are shadows on web, Android, and iOS, and all works differently. The native side of shadows is very different from what you see in the web. So these are the APIs in React Native, if I talk about specifically. So in Android, we have elevation, and on iOS, we do have shadow color, shadow offset, shadow opacity, and radius, etc. Then, web also works very different. So if you look at this, I came across this open source shadow generator tool. So what it does is it takes the depth means elevation on Android, and it translates some properties on iOS. Like it has some formula which is open sourced. So it takes the depth and it gives the same depth as elevation on Android and like similar properties maps on iOS. So this is a very nice tool that I came across. So when I see design and development of this shadow, the first one is what she designed. And when I was actually implementing it on different devices, it didn't come as same as she designed. Because the design tools like Figma works very different. And these are designed for web-specific design, not for native. So I think I came across an idea like we should be having some shadow generator tools that is designer friendly, like you could design on that tool and I can translate similarly because the one that we have is for web, I think for shadows at least.
Right, I think a tool like that would really help us and avoid any development surprises. Anyway, now let me blow your mind with this one riddle. We have 3 squares here, all are of the same specification, which is 170 pixels. Now, but as you can see through the guidelines, they all look different visually. Do you think you would notice this while developing?
For me, I would not. I'm very confused because all these have same dimension, like 170 into 170, but this actually looks very different. Like all 3 boxes looks different to me. What is this?
Right. So let me sort this out for you. In component design, we have, as designers, we have the flexibility to choose strokes which can be inside, outside, or even from the center. However, popular design tools like Figma, Adobe XD, they do not count this visual differences, as an outcome of which you can see that they differ visually, but when a developer inspects them, all the specifications are of the same. Now, this leads to a difference in visual, but no difference in specification.
For us, it's just borders, not like inside, center, outside. And you also name it stroke. We call it border. And that's not coming in the dimension of actual box. The box dimension is 170 into 170, and border is outside that dimension.
Right.
So as you see, like we have summed up these issues into some technical, like some keywords. The first one is technical limitations versus creativity. She'll go all around, create some amazing design, which developers might find difficult to translate into code because of some compatibility issues. One could be like browser compatibility. Everything doesn't work on every browser. And other could be like framework. Like a framework can have some constraints which is like not translating the exact design that you built on development. Let's show the second one. Maybe navigating UI UX discrepancies. So while you see the overall design, overall look and feel of the website, but when I actually develop, I tend to get into the functionality of a very minute, maybe a button. How will it perform? So due to these differences that we have, we need to bridge this gap, maybe.
Right.
Other one is contextual awareness. I don't have an idea what context you might be having while you are like designing something.
Right.
And as a developer, can have different context.
Makes sense. I think now that we have established the different kinds of issues that one may have, what would be the basic solution for this? First up, obviously, we should have a common language between designers and developers. And we've realized that even when we explain the same concepts, the terms differ. For example, for a designer, it's an artboard. For a developer, it's a viewport. It's a situation of opacity versus alpha, layer versus z-index, view styles, guides versus CSS frameworks. So the thing is, we need to improve communication. We need to learn each other's terms. But the problem is, where do we start? And that's exactly where we started a small side project where we address this issue. Meenu, do you want me to disclose it?
Yes, I would like to, because I don't know these terminologies.
Sure. So presenting Bridge the Gap, we are trying to have a website where people can, designers and developers can come and understand concepts based on each other's perspective. We aim to add each topics in such a way that it becomes easy for anybody to know what's cooking in the other side without having faced the guilt of or the shyness of asking if it is relevant at all.
I think it's going to help.
Okay. And the second solution here, which is accepted industry-wide, is a tokenized system. And this system is essential for fostering collaboration between designers and developers. And this is something that many companies have already adopted as a part of their design system ecosystem.
So a question might come to your mind, like why we chose to speak about this. Actually, we are we are currently developing BlueStack UI. And earlier, we have also experience of developing native base, if you have ever heard about that. So we have came across those challenges. And despite of we are having we sit very close and we discuss a lot of things. During native base, we had like long meetings. Since we feel like we should bridge the gap, there are like minute things that we miss out on. That's why we are here. One problem that we are into like developing universal solution. So we have some unique problems to discuss about, and we have faced those. So one of them is modal versus action sheet. So I was talking to one of the developer. He is into some famous design system. So he was what they do in the company is they render modal on the web, and on the native devices they render action sheet. But while we were developing this solution, like in a universal customizable component library, this was not working for us because we cannot be restrained towards, like we cannot pick our opinion on something. Like we have to be more customizable around it. So we kept it to the users, like how they want to use it, either modal or action sheet, however their preferences.
Right. Up next, we have another problem, which is like designing gradients. As a designer, when I'm designing gradients, I focus on the gradient type that I want to include. It may be linear, it may be radial, or it also may be like angular, or maybe a big mix of all the three. The other thing that I am concerned about is about the color choices. Obviously, it should reflect the brand identity. Third point would be understanding the depth, dimension, and the position of the gradient, which describes how much focus this gradient should have. But how do you develop these gradients?
OK, let's see how I developed. Actually, it seemed to me like a background gradient, which is in very trend right now. Everybody does this on their landing pages and all. So while I was translating your design, you gave, like, I had to give a lot of absolute values. And while having that fixed on all the screen sizes, I had a hard time building this. This is, I could be able to develop, which might not work for every screen size. Also, like, this is a radial gradient that you give. On React Native, we do not have radial gradients. Either we have to use some third-party libraries, which is some hack on radial gradients, or we directly use SVGs for radial gradient as of now. So that is one thing. Again, this is the web-specific solution that you designed on Figma, right, which might not work for native devices, like native development.
Makes sense. OK, so far we have discussed very common issues designers and developers face, some very common solutions, and the unique issues that we face as a part of the universal ecosystem. But let's discuss how or what did we do differently as a team. First up, instead of challenging the conventional team structure, we found ways to bridge these teams together so that communication is more smooth. For example, many of us acted as design developer advocates to ensure both the team understand each other's wants, needs, desires, constraints, and also work styles. We also formed integrated squads that promoted daily interaction between the teams and shared responsibilities for any outcomes. We had some design system leads that helped maintain design components and also document everything that anybody in the team can refer to. Apart from these team structure changes, we've also made some process changes, which is more about collaboration, in fact, early collaboration. We ensured that different teams sat together every day and collaborated and discussed on every single detail. We held regular cross-functional meetings, demos, and design reviews and developer demos. And of course, this was supported by continuous feedback loops.
There are a few other things that we took care of. One is, like, can you change the slide? So we held like common workshops and talks where we were discussing about, like, these were the common workshops that designer and developer both could attend and understand each other's perspective. Like anybody could attend those. Those were not super technical that the designer might feel a bit lag of. So we have had design meetups, design system meetups, which is combination of design and development altogether. So yes, this was the first initiative that we took, and a few other things.
Right, like for example, in terms of design files, we've laid down some foundation structure. So if you see here in this flowchart, we have the GlueStack library, and we have an open source version of it. We've taken that community file and forked it and added customization and made our internal design system. Along with that, we've added components for our own repository, and a combination of this is being used in several different projects internally.
Yeah, similarly, we also have a development structure of it. We do have amazing GlueStack UI library. And then what we did was we created a template repository for the design system that had all the components already, because the components are copy-pastable components. So we built a template repository which had all the components. And then we could do all the customizations, like the brand color changes and all those design changes, token changes. Then we could get the internal design system of a product, which is with all the customization of brand guidelines. And then we could develop composite components along with that, using those primitive ones, and have your patterns set. So we have the internal design system, which has all the primitives, and composites, which has all the patterns also. So this was a storybook project that designer also can review. So that package of having the primitives and composite sets, we could use that package in different projects. So that's how.
We also have formulated different checklists for different different phases that guided us. For example, in the requirement gathering stage, we sat down together and ask existential questions, like if you're adding any components to the library, what is the primary purpose of the component? What are the core functionalities? Are there any specific use cases for this, etc.? These brainstorming sessions not only help us develop a very core foundation, but also educated us with any terminologies that are very specific to any component. When it comes to design consideration, we had checklists that would basically not only involve the component, but also how the component interacted with other components. How should this component align with the existing design system, or maybe how are the visuals or any stylistic constraints? What would accessibility look like? And these considerations are again taken forward into dev.
Yeah. With dev considerations, I would like to highlight some examples as well. Like the first one, we have how will this component integrate with the existing ones? So we had an input component. So input components has its own functionalities, and while we were actually building new component, form control, it should respect all the functionality of input component as well. Suppose there is an error, form control should know what error did input throw. So while introducing new components, we should be see if it is compatible with the existing components as well. Second consideration would be are there any dependencies or external libraries required? So we recently have Gauram bottom sheet, a huge shout out to Gauram bottom sheet. So we had that incorporated in our bottom sheet. So that's third-party library integration, we call it. And third one is how we can actually design this component to be reusable in multiple places in an app. Suppose we can have multiple variants of a button that can be used in different parts of any application.
Makes sense.
We also started preparing this developer handoff. We call it spec sheet. This is the specification sheet which has all those details like APIs, all those inspirations that we took from different libraries, all the tokens, and we developed this developer handoff along with designer to help us with the design and APIs we built. So this for a specific component, we have a developer handoff ready so that anybody in the team can refer to this. Yeah. So we have also taken one step further. We have incorporated all those changes, but next step that we took towards bridging is we developed this tool DSX. We call it Design System Builder. So it makes the foundation level tokens for you. So designer can also use this because it is very friendly to designers. They can just switch it off like they do in the design tools. So we can actually decide all the tokens here itself, which can give JSON file, which directly can be used in the code. And we can also design different components here. So it's very handy. We use it internally. The next we have is, we have also developed some Figma plugins. One of the plugin that we developed is which translate any code to Figma designs directly. We use this mechanism. So we have the code ready, and we translate that to exact Figma file. Yeah, that's one plugin.
Yeah, I think additionally, we have also published a GlueStack plugin into the community that helps designer link all the typographies and colors into into the local libraries that are available in their design file. So basically, it's not like we're just helping them generate new Figma files. We're also helping them adapt to the already existing files. As we grow, we also understand that our community is also expanding, and we'd like to highlight some of the community contributions that have helped improve collaboration between designers and developers, including us. Let's start with these tools that have made collaboration between designers and UI developers very easy. Figma Dev Mode is something that everybody knows, and it's basically a game changer. A developer can inspect all the details, and it now comes with VS Code plugins, and it just helps developers understand all the changes that the designers has done. Talk about seamless collaboration, right? It even provide code suggestions, so yeah, that's there. There are other tools like Zeppelin and Sketch that bring harmony in design handoff. Other set of tools like, for example, Framer, Webflow, Wix. I think for me, it serves like a very nice education platform for designers, because here, without developer dependency, we can actually publish websites, but most importantly, we can understand what a developer mind is going on when they are developing something. So these also have very nicely explained us concepts of like flex, grid, and media queries, making it easier for designers to grasp development knowledge. And then there are tools like Rive, Marvel, Storybook, Prototype that helps in documentation and also rapid prototyping. For example, Prototype is an application which helps designer include all the dynamic changes that he or she wants, and you can test the entire user flow before it goes to any development stage. Finally, I think we've come to the conclusion of the talk, and like you can see in this GIF or GIF, whichever you prefer, all we want to emphasize is a balance is required between the design and the development team, a balance of mindset, a balance of collaboration, and a balance of communication. Achieving this balance ensures that both of the teams are working harmoniously maybe with some banter, but yeah, leveraging each other's strength and creating seamless experiences. It's all about blending creativity with functionality, aesthetics with usability, and innovation with practicality. This is the equilibrium that drives any successful projects and fosters a thriving environment for both designers and developers.
True that. So before we thank everybody, would you like to thank us for listening to you, all the developers?
Right, yeah.
Which we do not usually. OK. If you want to see all we banter, you can connect us. We can connect.
And that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.